Yeah, we were interested in place. I was interested in London, and then we sort of went from there. So brevity is of essence here. Londinium. Londinium as consumer of all that she had and hadn't. Londinium as leech on the calcined surface of skin. An animal in the back streets of busted homes. Londinium as an abstract artist painting a nude in nude. Londinium as lover at arm's length, or a sibling in a myth of light and darkness. Londinium as someone else's memory, a postcard, a post-it note, an unspoken letter. Londinium as the wasteland of the unreal city that Eliot writes. What are the roots that clutch? What branches grow out of this stony rubbish? Londinium sundered into 33 ghettos, each of us foreign in our own belonging. Londinium as a severed body ditched in the Thames.
A Portuguese poet once wrote that when he went to war, he took all his angels with him. He was sleek, he had an Italian surname, a fantastic sense of humor. He managed to avoid the draft. Of lately, however, my craving for this type of epic disposition has been replaced by the stifled melodrama and an organized routine which starts at dawn. Eos, the goddess of dawn, so the ancient Greeks believed, would at the break of each day run her car through the sky. They said her fingers had the color of roses, as if a day was a saint that could be opened in a fiery color with the gesture of the hands, that her robe was saffron. At one point in the Odyssey, the poet declares that her robe is not only of the precious color of saffron, but embroidered with flowers. In Greek vases, she appears either chasing after her lover, Tithonus, who is often represented running ahead of her, with what seems to be manic fright, or otherwise holding the dead body of her mortal son, Memnon, as if he were a dancer who had fallen asleep in the arms of his pair, halfway through the dance, as if the death of a mortal young man was a mistake, an accident to be easily corrected with the snap of one's fingers. About going to war, one can never be certain of which angels are willing to follow us. In some vases, Eos is a woman at work. She drives her car through the sky. Her job involves little bureaucracy. I envy her because of that, but not just because of that. Dawn is no angel, but she happens to have wings in some of the iconography. And it is also the case that even if my disposition is not warlike, every time I get out of the house in the morning, I do feel like I have been called upon to show up at some kind of war. It is interesting to think that if we are somewhat foreigners in our belonging, some of that has something to do with our relationship to language. It is also interesting to think that I have no recollection of the goddess Eos ever uttering a word in any of the ancient texts in which she is mentioned. Nevertheless, downstairs, two men in the mailroom, two young Egyptians working far away from home, are engaged in a shouting match. They are young, clean-shaven, clever with words, charismatic. They have a letter to send to Egypt, but they seem to have forgotten how the postcode system in their other country works. They could Google it, but they resent the flaw in each other's memories. And so it is turning bitter. The job of Eos, despite her many misadventures with men and children, was as simple as it was vital. Always at the same fixed time, burst the gates of the sky open, let the flood of light, the sun, pour through, so that we, the fragile mortals, whose lives are so short, could start over.
Again, or be snowed in our sleep. Selene, goddess of moon and Eos' sister, swept her skirt over the city like a flamingo dancer, digging her heels on the city's pavements, clapping the night and its windows open. There, she spotted two Egyptians still in dispute over the postcode. This was her moment, her London. Certainly she had loved Endymion, still does, the mortal who she visits every night in his eternal sleep. But here was another, just as handsome. Love and desire are two different streets, easily confused on a city's map. Tonight she will clutch roots from this stony rubbish, become anonymous, a foreigner in her own belonging, as she unravels her skirt for the burial of the dead under the brown fog of a winter dawn. Thank you.
Thank you.